Hello, hello, everyone. I'm so excited to see your faces pop in here. And oh my gosh, this is so exciting. There are old friends, new friends, and all of them, I like to say, no matter how new they are, I feel like they're friends for life. Our third act is such an amazing opportunity to choose to be around people who energize us and support us. And so tonight, we'll have an amazing hour together. I'm going to try to multitask and get us rolling, but at the same time, know that I'm going to have people popping in, and hopefully, they won't have to wait in the waiting room too long. Oop, here we go. Multitasking are us. So tonight, for those of you that have been a part of our monthly third act spotlights, you know that to me, the most exciting thing of life is really understanding other people's stories, how the paths they took, the journeys, the breadcrumbs, the aha moments that led them to living a third act that's really meaningful and in many cases very, very unique. And tonight's guest is, oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled to have Nancy Slonim Aronie join us. She's there. Wave to everyone, Nancy. Uh, she is remarkable. And I noticed that Gina Ville just signed on via phone, which is great because Gina Vild is the first person who told me about this really cool woman um, who leads writing workshops now out on Martha's Vineyard. So I was like, oh, that sounds good. But even deeper than that, recently I picked up her book, which she'll talk about a bit tonight. It's called, hold it up, The Seven.
That is so pretty.
Isn't it pretty? Chakra.
Mhm.
The Seven Secrets to the Perfect Personal Essay, Crafting the Story Only You Can Write. So that was how I literally said, okay, I've got to know this woman. And number two, I've got to hope that she answers my email and we can have her on a spotlight. And she so quickly said yes. And I am just so grateful. I am so grateful to have her share a bit tonight. So before I dig in and get her speaking with us, I just want to say a few things. Wherever you are in your life, whether you're writing a memoir, thinking about writing one, maybe you want to publish it, maybe you just want to dig in and explore the stories of your life. We all have them, and you want to have them available to share with those you love. Wherever you stand, you're going to get inspired tonight. Um, I am just blown away by Nancy's um, mission in life because not only is she a gifted writer, but she's given her life to supporting others to do so. So I'll tell you a little bit about her bio, and it's very impressive. So don't blush too much, Nancy. She's an author of several very inspiring books. I mentioned the latest mostly about writing from the heart and also about the healing. Sorry, new people popping in. This is great. And about the healing power of writing your life story. She has been a commentator for NPR's All Things Considered and was a visiting writer at Trinity College in Connecticut. She wrote a monthly column for McCall's magazines when McCall's and magazines were a critical tool for us to immerse and understand life. She's recipient of this really cool Eye of the Beholder Artist in Residence Award at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston. She's been recognized for her excellence in teaching for many years with Robert Coles at Harvard University. And you can find her workshops if you're lucky in places like Esalen, Kripalu, Omega Institute, and others. But also, and she'll share at the end if you have questions about, and you can see, I'll put little links up to the Chillmark Writing workshop that she has on Martha's Vineyard each summer. So I'd love to just get us started. And as I mentioned to Nancy in our first little chat here, I am fascinated, and I think we're all fascinated by each other's stories.
Mm.
What's the why? Why are we drawn to, called to, and why is it that we're following a path that we do follow in our life? And so I'd love to ask you to share a bit about your journey, why you started writing, what compelled you, and then what's been like a guiding thread for you across life.
What a great, you're unbelievable. Thank you. And
Oh,
welcome,
thank you.
everybody. Thank you guys. Of course, I said yes immediately. I want to quickly just say something about McCall's and then remind me what you had asked. Because when you said McCall's, I haven't thought about that in years, but I got this column when I was interviewed. I went to New York. I'm a country bumpkin from Connecticut. And the editor said, I can get anybody I want, but your voice is unique. I want you. And she paid me, you could never get this now, $3,000 a column, 750 words. It was so easy for me because it's what I do. Unbelievable. My math is so bad that I multiplied 12 times 3. And I said to my husband, I'm making, and he said, no, babe, 12 times 3. So I figured that wrong. So I wrote one, every month they were in, and I wrote one that started with my husband coming into the kitchen and saying, you got to get curtains. I can't, I don't like that the guy next door can just bend over and look into our kitchen. And I said, babe, he would have to get on his roof. He would have to bend himself into an L. And what is he going to see? Us tossing our Caesar salad? I mean, come on. I hate curtains. I'm not getting curtains. He said, please get curtains. So I went shopping and I ended up writing a piece about, now I didn't get curtains. I got gauze, beautiful filmy see-through. And he came home from work and I had them all hanging, draped. And he said, you didn't buy curtains, you bought bandages. And the thing was funny. It was a funny piece. And in it, I discovered, as writing will do for you, that the piece was really about boundaries and that window coverings are about boundaries and that I never had boundaries. And when the kids would get home from school and I was doing the wash, I would go through their little corduroy pants. And if I found a note, I would say, oh, and I'd read the note. And if the kids got a phone call from someone, and then I would say, so what'd she say? So what'd you say? And my husband would yell back, you don't have to tell her anything, guys. So the piece ended up my saying we're true partners because he caught me and taught me and helped me see that I had no right asking my kids these personal questions. So I wrote the piece, I submitted it, and they sent back galleys and they had cut. Luckily, my husband would yell, you don't have to tell her anything, guys. They took out the word luckily. What does that do? It changes everything. One word, it changes everything. It's like all of a sudden it's a directive. All of a sudden my husband's telling me what to do. You don't have to tell her anything, guys. So I called her on the phone and I said, you have to leave in the word luckily. Your magazine goes to 17 million women. And the message, and this is 40 years ago. The message you are giving them is that the guy still tells the woman what to do. You have to, I'll trade you any other mistake in the thing that you want. Leave the word luckily. Get off the phone. The thing came out without the word luckily. So I was so blown away that she didn't get the message. So I called and I made an appointment and I took the train into New York and I'm scrunched in this little office with, about 7 editors. And I actually was sitting on the floor. There were no chairs. And I said, I am blown away that you would be willing to leave a message like we've been given our whole lives, women, that the guy tells the girl what to do. And she said, well, there was no room in the column inch. And I would like to tell you that I quit, but the money was so, I have no ethics, it turns out. But the fact that a McCall's, a magazine with so much clout and so many readers would do that to us, it just tells you, A, how unconscious for so long. It took so long for our consciousness to change. Anyway, I had to tell that story. So what did you ask me? You asked me
I just
how
want
I
to
felt.
know, yeah, were you this 5-year-old that devoured reading and writing in your journal every day? What was that?
Well, I always wrote. It came easily, it came quickly. In our house, we were not allowed to buy Hallmark cards. We had to make our own cards. So for my mother's birthday, I think I was about 5, and I made the card. And I have a sister named Margie, and I have no brother. And I wrote, "Happy birthday to mom, from Margie and Nancy and Tom and Tom." My, my mother took it, and she looked at it, and she looked at me, and she said, "Oh, honey, this is wonderful, but who's Tom?" And I remember to this day rolling my eyes and saying, "Oh, it rhymes with mom." And that woman had the opportunity to nip a little right in the bud, but instead she said, "Oh, of course," like, how
Oh
stupid.
man.
I'm telling you, you get that kind of early validation and you continue on. You get chopped in half in the beginning, you stay chopped in half for a long time until someone puts the parts together again. So she did that. And then in fourth grade, in the math teacher, this is so wild. The math teacher passed out paper and said, the very first day of school, "I'd like to know something about each and every one of you. Please write something." And I'm 6 feet tall. Well, I'm not 6 feet anymore. I'm shrinking every hour, but I was. I was 5'11 and a half. And in fourth grade, I was already taller than the world. And I wrote, and the next day she read mine out of everybody's. And I had written, "I am very, very tall. All my friends are very small. Whenever you look, I always show. Gee, I wish my friends would grow."
Oh my God.
Two major validations early. And
That's
then I had great
beautiful.
English teachers. So I, was I got a lot of nourishment in that area. And a lot of people that come to the workshop, I sometimes call it undoing the damage of Uncle Max or undoing the damage of school. Somebody told you you couldn't write. How dare they? Everyone's got a story. Everyone, if you can talk, you can write.
Wow.
That's my feeling.
Wow. Oh my God. You know, not to move from your story, but there's a book called Callings by Stephen Cope, and he talks about when people receive these callings, it's usually when they're very young. And Jane Goodall has a very similar story to yours of validation from her mom when it could have gone the other way so easily.
It happens to so many people, so that if they do get sidelined, waylaid, when they turn 50 and they come to the workshop, 50, 60, 70, 80, they reclaim. It's like, this is the dream I had, and this got taken away by my father, who laughed when I gave him my poem. This got taken away by my ninth grade English teacher. Whatever happened, it, I feel like the workshop is about being in a safe place to reclaim your voice.
Mm. You talk a lot about, and you're talking to it now about the healing power or the beauty of digging in and understanding and mining the stories for meaning. So talk a little bit about what you've witnessed happen with
Oh,
writers.
I have witnessed magic. But one of the things I have intuitively felt over the years is that the stories that were tough, I call them tiny murders, the little things that happen to us, they're where did they go? They're in you. They're in your pancreas, they're in your liver, they're in your kidneys, they're marinating. And to finally get the secret out onto the page, and I know because I've had the experience myself, healing takes place. And I make a joke the last day of the workshop. I often say, I would call this writing to heal, but no one would come because hard work to heal. It means you have to feel. You don't get to skip the pain part. And that's one of the things culturally, we're so terrified of feeling sorrow that we do like to just get to the end and have everything be okay. And now there is something called narrative medicine, and physiologically, they have proven
Mm.
psychologically and physiologically that telling your story, having it received by someone, is literally healing the body. So I knew it in my gut, and now there's proof. So it makes me very happy that science finally caught up with me.
Wow. Well, I'm looking around our Zoom here, and there are a number of women that I know that have written their stories. There are a number of women that I know are writing their stories, and women that celebrate the power of story. So it's I know from their experiences, I'm looking at you, Maria, mainly, it's like it's really a powerful tool. But one of the things that I am fascinated by too, as I think about the students in, whether it be college or at Kripalu or at your own workshop, it takes a lot to decide that you have a story worth telling, and we all do.
Uh,
Like your story about the curtains is a story worth telling, but it wouldn't outwardly feel like one to most people. But
I
yeah, so talk about the reluctance, talk about the need to really realize the power of your story, not only for yourself, but those who might read it one day.
Well, one of the things I think that happened to all of us was that we were not in safe places when we had our stories to tell, and we either got interrupted or we got laughed at or we got demeaned or we got shame. Shame is the big one. I think shame is one of the biggest emotions that every kid experienced. And what do you do with that shame? You clam up. I um I was in a workshop, not a workshop, but a writing group. My very first writing group that I was invited to. I had never ever been in a group writing. I just always wrote, but I didn't really value it because it came easily to me. And things that come easy, I think all of us kind of diminish a little bit. It's like, well, I can do this, so it can't be valuable. Anyway, I wrote all the time. And I got invited into this fancy schmancy writing group in my town, which is Hartford. If there's anyone from Hartford, raise your hand because I'm telling on them, telling on these people right now.
There's some nearby Hartford women I can look at them.
Nearby.
Where? Springfield? No. Glastonbury? Where?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm on the shoreline, so
Oh, you're fine.
Connecticut.
Lyme, Madison, Essex, you're fine. Hartford, West Hartford, Connecticut. So I was so thrilled when they invited me because they all had published. And I knew sort of all of them and admired them and was blown away that I was invited. You know how you sort of don't think you're quite up to the, okay. I hung up the phone. I went screaming through the house. Oh my God, I have to lose 15 pounds by Friday. It was Wednesday.
Wow.
And right away, I'd like to tell you that that is the stupidest thing in the world. You do not have to be thin to be a writer. And I'm thin. So two problems right there. Then I went screaming through the house, what should I wear? What does a writer wear? Black. So I wore black. And I got there, and there were 14 women who had been meeting for years. And this woman read her piece, and it was stunning, just beautiful. And the first person who responded sounded like this. You know, Harriet, I felt that your characters were really rather one-dimensional. I mean, I couldn't relate to them. The thing was so beautiful. And then almost everyone in that room said something negative to her. But I just couldn't believe it. And
Envy.
there was peach envy. And then there was peach cobbler. It was so delicious, hot, which I love a hot dessert. And I glommed and I kind of put on a phony smile and socialized with these women and got out of there as fast as I could and got home. And my husband greets me and says, "So, how was it?" And I said, "Oh my God, the peach cobbler was unbelievable." He said, "No, babe, the writing thing." And I said, "Mean spirited, actually." And he
Mm.
said, "Going back?" I said, "Yeah, of course I'm going back. These are my mentors." So I went back the next Wednesday night, and this other woman read her piece, and it was just magnificent, just really, really fine work. And the first person who responded must have gone to the same surgeon to have her jaw wired shut. She said, "You know, Jean, I really have to admire your perseverance. I mean, you just don't quit, do you, dear?" Oh my God. First of all, I know she said that because I went out to the car and wrote it down because I knew that I would forget that somebody could say that to a person. And then there was this blueberry dessert that was so, the little wild Maine blueberries. Now you know who I really am. And I ate And again, kind of had this social moment of not being real and, not connecting with anybody and eating and smiling, phony. And I got in the car and I got home with blue teeth. So, and again, my husband greets me and says, "So how was it?" And I said, "Oh my God, these women, not only are they mean, but they're wrong. They're hurting each other. I mean, I know, that I know good writing, and this stuff was really good. And they just did a job on this woman. They shouldn't have anything to do with writing. What they should do, if they're going to do a book, they should do a dessert book because they're really good with desserts." He said, "Are you going back?" And I said, "Yes, because I'm reading next time." And he said, "You're not nervous?" I said, "No, they're not going to do it to the new person." They did it to the new person. So I went and I read something I was pretty proud of, that I was pretty sure was really good. I was not going to read anything in process or that I needed help on. I just wanted to impress these people. And I read something great, and I got to show you what they did. I need to get a pen
Oh, man.
and I'll show you what I did. This is what I did. So here's the notebook. And I went, "Oh, right, right. Oh, sure. Right. Oh, right, right. Thank you." I said thank you as they put a stake in my heart and twisted it in half. So I
Wow.
never went back, but there was apple crisp. Yeah, I am a sick person. So I ate the apple crisp. I took it. I didn't eat it there. I took it in a paper plate. I don't like eating off a paper plate, and I certainly don't like those plastic spoons that don't even fit in your mouth. But I took the white plastic spoon and I took the dish, paper plate, and I got into the car and I took a bite and I couldn't swallow. And I didn't write for, when I tell the story, which is often, I say 2 years, but I honestly don't really know, but I didn't
Wow.
write. And the reason I tell the story is because I am not the first or the only one who has given her power away to the wrong people. They had no right to take my power, and I certainly had no right to give it to them. But you do. You just do. Even though my little precious self, my little precious writer self, I knew I was a good writer, but every time after that group, every time I went to write, I couldn't write. I
Mm.
let them take my voice away, and I would go, you know what? I'll just do something else." And it took me a long time to get back to it. They really, really hurt me. And then actually started to have a writing workshop. Um, and I had never facilitated a group before. I had taught English in college. I taught English in high school, but I never have facilitated anything like this. And guess what happened? The same thing. There were 12 people. I kind of knew all of them a little bit, and they tore each other apart. And I was like, I
Wow.
did not know. I didn't know what to do. I knew I was heartbroken. I knew I was not doing the right thing. I knew I was failing, but I didn't know how to switch it. And what I saw was shoulders went up and faces got constricted and the writing got generic, got really bland. But I still didn't know what to do. And I remember being in Walbaum's in the grocery store, and one of the women in the class came up to me and she said, I'm just about to pick up a broccoli. And she goes, "Do you believe Patrice is writing a romance novel, all 275 pounds of her?"
Oh, holy moly.
Broccoli down. I walked to my car. I burst out crying in the car. And I thought, first of all, what have I done that she thinks she could say that to me? And what have I done that I didn't protect Patrice? So the thing ended. It was 10 Tuesday nights. And I said, I'm never doing this again because I failed and I'm not good at this. And then, you know how you have like a little voice, a little intelligent person in your stomach, in your gut? Well, she yelled up at my brain and said, "No, no, no, you're going to do it, but you're going to do it right." So
Mm.
I did put another ad in the paper and I got 10 people. When they called me on the phone, I said, do you know me? And if they said no, I said, come on down. I took all 10 people that didn't know me. I knew I kind of had to sort of reinvent myself. And then they came to the house and I said, look, I've only done this once and I failed miserably, but I learned something. Creativity requires safety. You will be.
Mm.
I have one rule, and that is when you finish reading, we will tell you what we loved. That's it. And that's what I do. That's the workshop. Period. Done. Ended.
Wow. Yeah, I think one of the most powerful things, and maybe it's particularly powerful for women, that the idea of writing about themselves, oh my God, that's selfish, who am I,
Yeah. Who am I?
is almost equivalent to standing naked in the middle of a park and
And
saying,
you are naked.
"What do
When
you think?" You know?
you are
Oh,
naked. When you write the truth in a personal essay, you have taken your clothes off. But the reward is unbelievable because no matter what's under those garments, it's exquisite. And you get that validation as soon as you're with safe people.
yeah.
You gotta take the chance. You gotta take a risk and say, this is who I am. This is what happened to me. This is where I am now. And it is healing to do it.
I feel grateful that, and I'm dying to know when this Hartford group experience happened in your chronological years. My guess is
I was
30s or 40s, something like that.
probably 40
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Yep.
There's something about us, little girls on the playground, queen bees,
Yeah.
and it sustains for long. And that's one of the blessings I believe about aging is that we can be, and I know almost every soul on this call, and I trust her, that if I put something out there, she's going to tell me what's good about it. And
I mean, it's not like I don't want to, it's not Pollyanna. You don't say anything if it doesn't blow you away or move you because we are teaching each other. So if somebody says, I loved when you said such and such, or that statement about your father, that was so beautifully done. It's not about becoming best friends. It's not about impressing anybody. It's about cheerleading.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And there's, and this is, I consider my workshop sort of the embryonic stage. It's a beginning. It's not, and there are a lot of people who've written and been published that take the workshop, but it's always a beginning. It's always new. So, just getting that. And then, after you've written a couple of drafts or whatever it is, yeah, you do need someone to sit down and say, this isn't working.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's beautiful. So, so I get a really good sense of how you feel that's important to sort of nurture and cheerlead to get the confidence in someone up. But talk to me about the reluctance to really believe that your story is worth telling.
That's the hard,
Whether, yeah,
that's the hardest thing. Well, I think read as much as you can read and read memoir. For you want to write memoir, or you want to write personal essay, read. And you'll be reading and you'll go, oh, you know what? Even though my details are different, she's telling my story in a lot of ways. So, and her thing is ordinary. It's not that we're so extraordinary. It's how we slog through the mud and come out the other side. We just want a map. So I know this happened to you. Yeah, it happened to me too. But how did you get from here to here? You
amen.
didn't skip. You slogged through the sorrow. How did you manage to get? What were the tools? Tell me. So yeah, I think it's very hard. And I mean, even when I was writing my memoir, which by the way got 17 rejections, I don't have a memoir. I snuck my memoir into this one,
What's
Memoir
that? I can't read it. What is it?
of Medicine. And
Oh,
that's the book that came out 2 years ago. And I have a very big deal agent, and I wrote the memoir, and I worked on it for years. And it really was mostly Joel and I had a sick son. He got diabetes at 9 months old, and at 22 he got MS. And um, I think the way we navigated that sorrow, and he did die 12 years ago. How we did our trip. We were such a great team. We were so different. I put lavender on the pillow, drops of lavender on his pillow. So when people would come visit and they leaned over to kiss him, they smelled the lavender, not the urine in the room. And Joel made every single thing, like the Hoyer lift to lift him out of bed. He got MS. He was in a wheelchair. He had brain surgery. He had open heart surgery. He had everything,
Mm.
but became a teacher for us. I knew he was going to be my teacher, and he became surrendered and beautiful. And so the book was okay. I mean, I've reread it and it really wasn't that great. So but the rejections were out of 17 rejections, they all said, "Thank you for sending me Nancy Slonim Aronie's beautiful memoir. I laughed, I cried, but somehow I can't see it on my list." So I was like, well, what's wrong with your list? That I had confidence that day, you go in and out of feeling really great. You know that Hebrew adage saying that you have two pieces of paper, one in one pocket on the right and one in one pocket on the left. And the pocket on the right, it says, "I am everything." And the pocket on the left, "I am nothing." So it's the balance. We really have to feel humble and like nothing, but you also have to feel like you are everything. And so if you're either of those, it's a disastrous. But if you can maintain the balance, and writing is a phenomenal way to keep that balance. So anyway, I snuck 7 of my chapters into Memoirs Medicine because it was about how to write a memoir. So these are my examples. And so
Oh, wow.
have to
Wow.
write memoir anymore. And you know what? When I reread it, it wasn't that great. If I decide to ever really sit down, I would not, I think I would do better.
Well, let me say, because though I have not read that, I have devoured this most recent book for a lot of reasons. Number one, I feel like it's really helped me distill the way I am intending to and writing stories of my own. But through it, not only did you embed some amazing personal essays, but of yours, you also shared a lot of your students. And like, quite honestly, if I was in the group with those women or men, I would go, "Oh my God, you blow me away," because
All like
oh,
that.
oh my
The
God.
hard it was to choose. I could have chosen every single story from every single person. In fact, I had to hire people and pay them to help me choose because I knew everybody and they were all phenomenal. The
Wow.
and those pieces that you read, those stories were written in class or for the prompt at night for the assignment. Can't call it assignment, sounds like school. The prompt for nighttime. But they weren't edited. They weren't fixed. They were the way there were only 3. One, somebody, I let him work on his. And then there are 2 college essays that those kids worked on theirs. And they didn't, neither of them took my workshop, but they're going to. Because he wanted he wanted college essays to be in there, my editor.
Oh,
So
wow. That's
those
cool.
2 were not written in my class, but and I know both kids, and one's gotten to Harvard, the other one, they're both brilliant. So those 3 stories were kind of, worked on, but everything else is raw and real.
Wow. So, the people that raise their hand and say they want to write, I mean, there are lots of motivations. There's either a significant life disruption or trauma or opening up awareness that happens, or there's just this need to celebrate or share. Talk to me about the motivations that you see, not just in your students, but in writers in general, what you
Well,
see.
I just think, everybody obviously there's no formula. Everybody has a totally different reason. Some people want to get back at somebody. Somebody has dreamt and pictured their book signing for their whole lives and they're ready to get that book out there. Some people want to leave their story for their grandkids and their kids. They've never been able to be honest. I mean, just think about it. What would you give to have your great grandmother or your grandmother's
Wow.
memoir with the truth, not with, "Oh, we went shopping and the weather was," the real story of your family. Finding out, oh, she had an abortion. They sent her to London and that's where she met her third husband. And then she was a ballerina, but something, you know, all the stuff. I would kill for the truth of those stories. So would you. So
Yeah.
that's a great motivation, is to be able to give your family my husband just said he's going to play tennis. Have a good time. Every day he plays.
Have fun.
Cold weather. Sometimes when it snows, he actually shovels and dries the patches and plays against the back.
I love it.
He didn't start till he was about 60 or 50. I know. So it's really magnificent. And I proposed to him, by the way, if any of you are single and you're waiting for somebody to say something to you, do not wait. Just get what you want, please.
Oh,
Not only
man.
did I propose to him, but then I begged. I begged him. I would cry when the car with the just married, and he'd go, "What?" And I would go, first of all, I can't believe that in 1965, which is when I met him, how did I know a phrase like, "Don't you realize we're life partners?" I can't believe those two words. We're life partners. And then I begged, and then he finally succumbed, and we'll have our 58th anniversary in August. So
Oh,
there.
man, that's beautiful.
Talk about a cheerleader. I'll tell you one funny story. When we first got married, I called him at work and I said, "Can I read you something?" And he was an engineer, and there were like tons of engineers in the place, and he awkwardly and reluctantly said, "Yeah, okay." And so I read him a piece, and was quiet for a second, and he said, "I think you have two pieces in there." I said, "You know what? You don't know. You're not a fucking writer. You know nothing about writing." And I hung up on him. And then I read it, and there were two pieces in there. So when he came home from work, I said, "Okay, so here's the thing. I have to teach you something. You were totally right, but you have to say something good to me first. I cannot have a criticism immediately, because I just shut down. If someone says something negative to me first, I can't do
Wow.
anything after that. So I don't care if you have to make something up, just say you're brilliant." And also, I think I taught him, he's good now.
Awesome. Well, Nancy, do me a favor. I'd like to open up to people to ask questions of you.
Love that. Good.
But I also want to reserve time to end on you sharing one of your favorite essays. So it's about 10 past. So I'd love to open it up to those of you in the room. And as I say, I know so many of you are writers or storytellers of some sort. So I'd love to open it up to people to ask questions. All you have to do is raise your little hand like this, and I'll call your name and unmute yourself. Anybody want to go first? Gina, I saw you.
Yeah. Hi, Nancy. I don't have a question actually, but I just wanted to say Nancy's very encouraging. When I attended her workshop, and it's very positive feedback, and you can get criticism through positive feedback, as we've all raised kids, we know, right?
Yep.
So I just wanted to say that, and I'm so glad, Nancy, to hear about your book. And Jim Murin, who's in your book, who wrote
Yep.
I just interviewed him for my book because I have a contract now since I saw you for my second book. So
So,
he's one of the people I interviewed for my book and to tell that story. So it's really good. So I got to
yeah.
read that.
Where do you live?
Wellesley.
Oh, okay. Because they're giving me a book party in Washington.
Oh, yeah.
So
Nice.
anybody that's in the
Nice.
Washington area, let me know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
do.
that's
Very
great.
nice.
Hey,
Oh,
Maria
oh, okay.
is, Kelly is.
Yeah, I'm in DC. I'd love to come.
Okay, so write down, uh, somehow you have to get my email, nancyjill73@gmail. You'll post that, right, Diana?
Yes, I'm going to follow up
Good. So you write to
specifically,
me and I'll
Kelly.
give you
I'll
the
send
address.
it to you. Yes.
I'd
Great.
love to. Thank you.
Oh, that'd be great. Okay, so question, so Gina, I know you didn't have a question, but also tell them how much we laugh in the workshop, aside from my crying all the time.
We did. Okay. I'm going to turn off this phone because
Oh, we get to see
I
Gina
apologize for
swim
interrupting.
there. Okay.
I'm sorry.
I had a visit to the vet. I had to go to the vet, so you went to the vet with me, and now I'm back.
Oh,
No, we did laugh, and and we laughed a lot, and the feedback from everyone was really good. And it's an intimate, trusting environment. And I would like to add to what Nancy said. Like, when you write, don't be intimidated because you think you need to be published by a major publisher in New York. I mean, you could write your story for your children. And my children last year gave me Storyworth and asked me 105 questions that I answered and told stories, and you can practice with that. And it's amazing how encouraging it is to just go through the process of putting your thoughts on paper, on a
And
computer.
the book, all three of my books have prompts at the end of every chapter. So if you have prompts, that'll help you.
Yeah,
They're little containers,
yeah.
wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I'm excited for Eugenia, her second book on the
Yeah.
topic of resilience, which
Yeah.
you've done some amazing interviews of people and their stories. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, and Nancy, I used a little bit of what I wrote as my preface as something I started writing in that class. So that was really fun.
Oh, I'm so glad.
That was
That's
really fun.
Wonderful. Now, I noticed, I think, Joy, you had your hand up with a question.
I just kind of wish that you'd come to Vancouver Island, Nancy, and give a workshop because
Oh, I
then
love
I'd be able to come.
Vancouver. I love where you live.
I
can't-
know it's wonderful, but I'm not in my third act. I'm in my fourth act.
Well, how old are you?
Well, I'm on the way to 90. I'll be 90 in October. So
Fabulous and gorgeous. Who
I
painted that
know.
painting of the guy in the background? The green, got a
Oh,
green.
that's my husband. My daughter painted it.
Love it.
It's actually got his favorite poem on there.
Oh,
He
that's
painted it just before he died.
Hmm.
What is
Well,
his favorite poem?
Uh, it's Rudyard Kipling. I got to look at the title. Something about to be a man, my son, that one. You know the one I mean?
Right.
It's very, very popular, Rudyard Kipling. But um, yeah, I mean, I've been writing all my life and I've done a couple of ebooks, but I'm doing my memoir. I've had a lot of publicity in the past year because I won an award. So my little story about selling my engagement ring, and going to Italy was out there. So it was partly about travel, but it was partly about learning to be brave and doing what your heart tells you to do and what you really want to do with your life. And I'm still doing that all these years later. I don't see any reason to stop yet. If
oh,
I
Joy, you are Joy.
well, I mean, if I get ill, and I do listen to my body all the time, but I expect to go on for another few years, and I may live to be 100. I kind of plan to because I've got the blue zone in my mind. I've got a simple lifestyle, and I'm a gardener and a writer and a singer, and I do all sorts of creative things. So there's no reason why I shouldn't finish this damn memoir that's kind of sitting there waiting to be finished. But I've been very lazy about it. I've been writing it for years, and it's the story of growing up through the war and all that meant to us, and it's hard.
You were in England when it happened?
Oh, in England, yeah, during World War II, yeah, I was a
Wow.
champion, but um, it was hard to write it, but now it's written. Um, I don't know what's happening now in the States is triggering me a bit because it's kind of taking me back. So my mood is not great at the moment to settle down and be really focused on writing. I need to settle and not think about the bad things that might happen. But so I'm kind of in a stuck place at the moment, let me
Are
say.
you in a writing group?
I made with a couple of girls, but I don't know. I like what you said about saying what you love. And I haven't found that they do that. They look for little spelling mistakes. And I thought,
Oh, no, get out, get out,
not
get
in,
out.
I'm not in the right, I know that. And I have stayed away from reading groups and writing groups and because I think I'm better on my own and finding a real editor who
Well,
will,
here's what I
I
suggest.
want,
I
really.
think you should start your own writing group with 3
Yeah.
or 5 people. Put an
Mhm.
ad in your local paper, meet at the library or the bookstore and say, I'm starting a writing group, all levels welcome. There's
Mhm.
only one rule, and that is we're going to tell each other what we loved because we really want to keep going. This workshop is this group is not about publishing, it's about process.
Mm.
Yeah.
And give your email if you're willing to, if you feel safe enough to do that. And then, maybe 3 people will respond and you'll meet until you feel safe enough. And then you can start meeting in each other's houses. You need to be with real writers, people who are worried about your punctuation, your grammar. They're not real writers. You know that. And
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah.
stuck. You need to be
Yeah.
with energy. Good.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what they're writing, and I do try and be encouraging about what they're writing, but it doesn't move me at all what they're writing. It's so
No, you're done. You're done. And you can either stay with them and just be a nice friend or get out, but
mm,
definitely get with people that are like you.
I love
yeah,
All ages, all age people.
I love
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All
They're
right.
all
Let
they're
me
all
know.
quite
I want to
exciting.
know how you did. I want to hear it, the results in a month. You have
awesome.
a month to
Nancy,
start your group.
Thank you, Nancy.
you're
I'll work on it.
such a
Thank you.
it's inspiring. I can feel it. Um, Anybody else? Maria.
Thank you so much, Nancy. That was really interesting. I wanted to share that I just finally, it has been 7 years that I've been trying to get a contract for this next nonfiction book, and I finally did, Bloomsbury. I'm really excited about that, about my
Fantastic.
DNA test discovery and consequences book.
Wow.
I'm also writing a sequel to my book called 50 After 50, Reframing the Next Chapter of Your Life. And I don't really want to go back to the old publisher because they were difficult to deal with. It was Roman and Littlefield. And uh, I I have self-published before too, some ebooks, and I'm just curious about what your view is of publishers, whether to, once you've got a publisher who likes you, to stay with them, or is it good to shop around just to see what else is out there? Or I
You
guess
know
just,
what? I'm not a good person for that question. I don't know
okay.
what's out there. I got a guy that published the last 2 and I didn't get a very big advance and they don't really do much promotion, but I love them. And I don't really, and my agent really has never done anything. She's huge, but she's not really done anything. Uh,
Wow.
so
Have
I
you
don't,
thought
I'm
about
not,
getting a different agent?
no, I don't, you know what? I'm going to be 84. I'm just happy to be, I have a column in my local paper, which I love.
That's neat.
If I do another book, I'll do it with this guy because he's great. And they don't even change anything. They do ask me a lot of questions, but they really give me a lot of freedom. And yeah, I think if I were younger, I might be hustling more, but I'm just so happy. And I have talk about the next chapter or the third act. When I was I think 8 and my sister was 12, I said, I'm going to be an artist. And she said, no, I'm going to be an artist. You have to be a writer.
Wow.
So I became a writer and she became an artist and she died 2 years ago.
No.
I have been making little art things my whole life and I give them as gifts. I finger paint and I use people give me their earrings that they have one earring left, or I get like expensive little jewels and little tiny figurines from the train sets. And about a year and a half ago, a friend of mine who I've given some pieces to, who's a big deal artist, she sells her things for $40,000. She said, you should be in the Granary Gallery, which is the best gallery on the island. And I went, yeah, right. And she said, I'm serious. Can I take pictures? So she took pictures of my stuff. I am in the Granary Gallery and I have an opening June 27th with 2 other artists. It's
So you are an artist.
so
Yay.
I think I've gotten, I'm not writing, but I'm so thrilled with making these little things. And somebody asked me yesterday, what's your process? And I said, I have no idea. I just have a bunch of little things. And then I just start putting them, little people, their stories, their little environments. But I think because I didn't name myself anything, so I'm sorry that I can't help you with the publishing answer.
That's okay. Rebecca, were you gonna say something? Oh, I thought I saw you down there. I have some little things, little figures that I have that I'd love to send you. If you put your address in the chat, I'll send them to you.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Oh my gosh. Uh, I don't have your address, Nancy. I don't know if you,
All right, I'm gonna give it to you. It's 1 West Meadow, Chilmark, 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 Massachusetts,
mhm.
02535. And the gallery is Granary, Grany, Granary Gallery. And if you write Nancy Aronie, Granary Gallery, you'll see my little people, see my little things.
Well,
But
it's
honestly,
interesting.
I really should be telling you the workshops because I really hope that somebody, if you guys can come. I have a very small one with just women, and it's just a pop-up. It's 2 days, and it's May 8th and 9th, or 9th and 10th. You have to look at my website. And it's all day, both days. So it's a Friday and Saturday. All day Friday, all day Saturday. I'm making food on Saturday, soup and lunch. So it's from 9 to 4 each day, and it's 2 full days, and it's $250 as opposed to 600, which is what I usually charge. So it's affordable, it's quick. So you'd come in on a Thursday night, and Saturday we're done at 4, so you could leave Saturday night, and you'd get to see Martha's Vineyard, which is magical here. And then I have, if you go to the website, which is chilmarkwritingworkshop.com, there's one in June, there's one in July, and there's one in August. And that's it. I'm gonna do one in New York on in September, but that's it.
Well, I'm dying to be a part of one of those. So if
Oh,
you want to,
Mom!
I have to figure out where to stay. That's the
Oh,
point.
so just Google. There is somebody, Linda Presley. She's a judge, and she's taken my workshop, and she has a B&B, and it's affordable and a beautiful house, and it's about 12 minutes from me. So Linda Presley, and if you go to my website, she should be on there. Call me,
Okay.
write me, I will respond.
Okay.
Oh,
So if anybody's in for
Mhm.
coming, and Maria, I see you
Oh
right.
yeah, you guys could room together.
Zante. Okay, Zante lives in France, but you're going to be over in July. Zante does work in digital storytelling facilitation, just fascinating stuff. This would be so good for you.
All right, you guys, this is so cool.
I'd
I'm
love to
also
be
looking
there.
down at Marty Mackay. I don't know if you see her down at the bottom right. She's got all these images you can't see. It's called her story during the pandemic. She picked 9 things and did them in a beautiful Instagram series every single day. And she kept us all going and laughing and
Man,
crying.
you did that. But Marty, your background is cool. What's in the background?
Oh, thank you. And by the way, your speech was so inspiring. And a lot of it is going to help my husband with his creative process, but I won't take over that. So right behind me is my 9 things collection, 81 days during the lockdown. I took photos of 9 different things.
Oh
I
my
can,
God.
and then I put them all in a big composite at the end of it all. And it started with the first time 9 things around my house that looked like the COVID virus. And then one day I had 9 wigs on my head, and just so I am collaborating now with another 333 woman named Marty McNabb, and we are working on helping people tell their stories through their things. So
Fabulous.
love
Just
all of this connection. Thanks to Diana. Anyway.
Well, it's stories. Some people are holding back from writing, but every time I go to one of your sessions, Marty and Marty, if I get to bring a thing that has meaning, it's amazing the stories that
great
come
idea.
out, like your little people things that, oh my gosh.
Love to see those.
So we've got 5 minutes. Is that enough time for you to read an essay for us?
Well, if it ends, it ends, you know.
Well,
Then you're
I'll stay on, so whoever can stay on to hear. But I also, just before you go, this book and the 7 secrets, I'm going to be launching a writing group in 333 that will meet weekly on Zoom. And each month, we're going to take one of the 7 secrets
oh, good.
and your prompts to use it as a way to get flowing and going and get some momentum and get cracked open in this. So stay tuned for that for those of you that are in 333. So, okay, go
Oh,
ahead, Nancy.
so I wrote this story after I went to visit a friend whose daughter had taken her own life, and she was just incredible pain. And so it's called Eating Your Grief. What was your grief food? My friend Cindy says, as I am handing her the black bean soup I have brought as my offering in what I know must be her darkest hour. Condolence calls are awkward at best. Cindy tells me she has 3 more bean soups on the porch. I see they are lined up like planes on a runway waiting for takeoff. But mine has coconut and lime, I whine. And ginger, I add. So I hope I get moved to the front of the pack. Actually, I don't care where my soup ends up. I just wanted to make her laugh. After a brief visit where I chatted about the lousy March weather and the ugly refrigerator we were just forced to buy, I found myself doing what the French call l'esprit d'escalier, literally translated the spirit of the staircase, meaning thinking of the perfect reply too late. What was your grief food? My friend had asked me. Did I not answer because I didn't want to think of what food I ate when my son Dan died and have to face my own grief? Or did I not want to face hers? Did she ask because she wanted to put me at ease because she knew we were now both members of the same club, a
Mm.
club no one wants to belong to? And why, oh, why did I want to make her laugh? It's hard to drive while kicking yourself, but I managed to do both at the same time, thinking, why didn't I say, I can't even remember what I ate, what people brought? I can't remember what nourished me. I can't remember anything. It was 12 years ago. What I can remember is 1 minute I was the mother of 2 sons, and the next minute I was the mother of, well, you see, there's one of the interesting problems. When people say, how many kids do you have? Should I say past tense or present tense and really make them uncomfortable? Should you say, I have 2, but I lost one? As if he's wandering somewhere in aisle 5 at Kronig's? How easy it is to divert and avert pain with a snappy wisecrack. I should have said the wedding cookies, the round balls with pecans and powdered sugar. But does that even qualify as my grief food? Maybe that's revisionist history. Maybe it was chopped liver on Ritz crackers. Who knows? What I do know is that as a culture, we are toddlers in terms of how we deal with other people's grief. And you would think since I went through it, I'd be better at it. My standard note over the years has included there are no words. I recently read an article in The Atlantic that kind of made me wince. The father writing the piece had lost 2 teenagers in a car wreck. He addressed most everything everyone had written about, fear of saying the wrong thing in case it makes the bereaved break down and start crying uncontrollably, people not mentioning their own loss for fear of causing more pain, fear of the grief triggering their own unexpressed grief. He wrote, quote, almost everyone we knew landed on the same unfortunate solution. There are no words. Oops, I gulped and kept reading as he proceeded to say that there are no words acts as a conversation killer, just when what you want is a conversation. I think back and all the love and hugs and cards and food were comforting, but what comforted me most and still do are stories about Dan. When I bump into someone who says I was a nurse at the ER, I love Dan, we all did. I have been approached on Circuit Ave, in line at the Steamship Authority, walking on Lucy Vincent Beach by folks who saw Dan do his stand up at Wintertide in the 70s, or worked with him at one of his many summer jobs, or had a brief but passionate love affair with him. Those kinds of encounters are the healing I forgot when I visited my friend yesterday. At least I didn't say what Cindy and I both agreed were the worst attempts, like, he's in a better place, or time heals all wounds. The better place would be alive and with me, and I don't know what time heals, besides maybe a paper cut. The thing is, everyone grieves differently. You have to come up with your own thoughtful, comfortable response, because as my friend Laura Lentz says, It's easier to walk with grief than to bury it. I may still say there are no words. I may still bring bean soup. But one thing I know for sure, I will not pretend I am there to talk about ugly refrigerators and the weather.
Beautiful.
Thank you, guys. I should have written something funny. I mean, read something funny, but no shoulds. I'm not going to should on myself.
That was perfect. We can all relate in some way, especially with the discomfort, um, especially of our own. So thank you so, so much, Nancy, for your time, your energy, and your beautiful, beautiful gift to all the writers you nurtured, and hopefully some of us. And uh, I don't want to seem like a shill, but this book is beautiful. I listened to it and I read it. I read it. And so I just can't thank you enough. And whoops, I'm getting phone call-orama here. I encourage each of you, if you haven't begun to mine your heart and your memories for your stories, to do it, if only to share with those that will live on after you or will never know you. It's just a beautiful gift to um, the future children and grandchildren. So
You are a pro. You are all heart. You are so genuine and beautiful. I am just filled with gratitude. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So I have your email addresses. I will give you a little follow-up with links to Nancy's work and her email address and all of those things. And Kelly, I hope you go to her event in DC. How cool would that be?
You'll be there.
When is it, Nancy?
April 26th from 3 to 5 p.m. It's in Alexandria.
That's where I live.
He lives, yes.
It's in Holland Hills. Do you know where that is?
Oh my, that's right in my backyard.
Of course it is.
Where are you going to be?
I'm going to be at their house. It's a house party.
Oh, it's a house. Okay, because there's a gallery that just, okay, got it. Perfect.
Okay, great. I'll see you soon.
Oh, how nice. Thank
Come
you
to the
so much.
vineyard and write. And can I have their emails, Diana?
Absolutely. If you guys don't mind.
Yeah, if y'all are all right about sharing your emails, then I'll have you on my list and I can send you news.
Fantastic. And I'm excited to hear about your 2 days in May. That might be a really exciting one. Maria, let's talk. Anybody else who wants to go, we can share a spot or something like that. Love seeing each and every one of you. And I thank you for just thank for being who we all are, and the experience I have with each of you in this room is such, unlike these horrifying writing groups, every single woman in this room lifts me up in some way, and I'm just so happy to be on this ride with you all. So have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.